Yeah. It is 7 o'clock, and I would like to call. Sorry. It's all right. I would like to call the March 19th City Council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Michael.
Here.
Daniels.
Here.
Murdoch.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Thank you.
All
Everyone's
right.
present, Mayor.
Well, let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is our consent agenda. We have approval of our minutes from the council meeting March 5th, approval ordinance of pay ordinance 874, and approval of a Bobcat lease for the street department. Is there any questions or discussion about anything on the consent agenda? Or a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay. Would you note that Councilman Ritter is leaving the podium or the dais, and we will consider 1B, approval of pay ordinance 874A.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay, Kevin. Coming back. Okay. So we have dispensed with call to public. I guess I would ask, since I put the invitation out, did we receive any emails of any communication?
No, Mayor,
Okay.
we did not.
All right. Item 3, old business, we have none, so we'll go to number 4, new business A. Discuss the results of the health insurance market evaluation.
Yes, Council, this is not an action item, so I don't want to spend too much time on it unless you want to discuss this. But if you'll remember last fall, we decided it was prudent to go test the market for health insurance policies after 2 years in a row of more than 20% increases from NPR. So we engaged CBiz to help us do that. They did quite an extensive market analysis for us, which included every employee getting on a web portal and detailing their and their family's health history to try and get a good snapshot of our health profile. CBiz went out with that to four providers. They had Humana, Blue KC, UHC, and Aetna. And of those 4, only Humana offered any quotes that were competitive with our current coverage and premiums from NPR. So in your packet, I've provided essentially CBiz's analysis of the results there. Basically, it's all in spreadsheet form, but you'll see that on the Humana's plans, for their PPO, they actually had a plan that would save us about 9.6%. The trouble with that is we only have 3 employees that are on that plan, so the total savings to us will only be about $2,600. For the high deductible plan, which is the other plan we offer, Humana's proposal is about 2.8% more than our current plan. So while those don't include any potential premium increases that we might see from NPR this year, we did reach out from NPR. We did get some assurances from them that this year's increases will be in the range of 5 or 6%. So based on that and a review of where we are, what we stand, our general satisfaction with NPR's service, with the coverage, with the claims adjustment and that whole process, we've made the decision I wouldn't recommend make any sort of switch to the benefits package this year. Remain with NPR. So, unless you have any questions about that, want us to go a different direction from that, that's the avenue that we'll go. And nothing stops us from doing this again next year. CBiz, our agreement with CBiz for this portion, it only cost $2,500 for them to do this, which I think was even though we didn't change anything, that was a good value for what we got for the service that were rendered. And we can do that again this fall as well, if we want to. So I'll try and answer any questions you might have, or you can take that under advisement.
Any questions for Mike on the insurance? Okay. We'll move on. 4B, discuss special use permit for bed and breakfast at 8753 Waverly Road.
Yes, council. This item, we do have our applicant on the online meeting. I'm going to see if I can pull them up. Yeah, there they are. Can you hear us? It's Pam and Doug Ebert. Okay, good. I'm going to unmute you. Doug and Pam, I don't know. I'll give a staff report. The council might have a question or two. If you want to say anything, just let me know, and at that time we'll spark up the audio here. So this item's for a bed and breakfast, a 3-room bed and breakfast. It's at on Waverly, just south of 87th Street. 8753 Waverly Road. In our regulations, bed and breakfasts are allowed under a special use permit. So that's the process that we followed. That requires a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting, which took place in last month in February. There weren't anybody either at the public hearing or before or since that voiced any objection to this. The actual application, there doesn't look like there's any proposed changes to the exterior of the home. I'm going to pull this up. As with any public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting, we did review the matters to be considered, much like a zoning change. They were all positive in favor of granting the request. Patrick has prepared an ordinance in case you want to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation and approve the permit. There is a layout there included in your staff materials of where the parking will be. Just an exterior shot of the home in question as well. Again, staff recommended approval of the use permit, and Planning Commission's forward a positive recommendation as well. So I'll stand for any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mike? I guess the only thing I would note was they did receive one letter of support.
Yes.
I noticed in the Planning Commission report.
Right.
Well, and I would say I verbally had talked to, I think maybe Mike, I don't know if it made in the records, but I ended up with a conflict that night and couldn't attend. But my property line abuts against their property line, and I have no problem in support for it. So the back of their property is against the side of our property. So I've heard nothing but support, including myself and my family.
Would the applicant like to make any comments?
No, we're just wondering how much business we're going to get within the next, month.
Okay. Yeah, right. So probably not much in the next few weeks, probably, unfortunately. But I think it'll be a great addition to the city. I was excited to see the application. Well, any want to take a motion? We need an ordinance number.
Yeah, what's the number?
Ordinance number 2488.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2488, approving the special use permit for the property at A753 Waverly Road to operate a bed and breakfast within the city of DeSoto.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion
Okay.
carried.
And I'll tell you, I really made you comment just because I wanted to make sure the technology worked. So,
Mayor, I'm sorry, I need to
oh
call you as
yes,
well.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it worked okay, huh?
So,
Yeah.
thank you for
Good.
participating.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, we will move on. Item C, consider bids for equipment shelters at Public Works facility.
Yes, council. In this year's CIP, we have $270,000 for improvements to the new public works facility. This is cost and improvements that we knew we were going to need to do when we moved in last year, so we included on the CIP this year. Mostly the improvements that we had identified before we bought the property were the need for these storage sheds that we're looking at tonight. A wash bay, in addition, some lighting and electrical improvements in the back. Since then, we've identified a need to replace some garage doors and possibly some drainage improvements, some drainage systems inside the shop area. We found out with the first snow plowing this year, we bring the trucks in, there's no floor drains out there. And so those trucks, they carry a lot of snow and it generates a lot of water. So we'll be looking at some of those things later on, but for now, we did bid out the storage structures. These things are 40 by 16 and 210 feet long. We got 3 bids on those, and the low bid was from Quality QSI in the amount of $107,700. I'm showing some pictures now. Sorry, they're not rotated the correct way. These are in Olathe. We spec'd our stuff out the exact same way as that. So that's what they'll look like. We're going to put them on the back on the back corner of the property. So we're asking your approval of the proposal from Quality Structures Inc.
Okay, questions for
Any
Mike?
questions you might have?
I would note that QSI has done several projects for us in the past, and we've had
Oh, yeah.
good success with them.
Yeah, they're great.
Anyone wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the bid with Quality Structures Inc. in the amount and not to exceed $107,000.
All right, we have Danny. Second by Danny Lane. All right, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Anna Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay. Consider donation request from Caw Valley Sportsmen's Association.
We need to back up one.
Yeah.
Oh, did I skip one? Oh,
Yeah, you skipped
oh, I
4D.
skipped SECT. All right, well, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, yeah. So 4D is consider a bid with SECT for summer concert light and sound. Now, this current state of affairs is, the planning for the concert series might be disrupted. So one thing I want to do, this proposal requires a 50% deposit, and I want to make sure if that happens that we can, get that deposit back if we cancel within a reasonable time. So that's kind of still up in the air. But what notwithstanding current state of the world, what we were doing a month ago seemed normal. We decided we wanted to have some consistency in the sound and the light production for this year's concert series. So we reached out to a number of companies that do that sort of thing, provide light and sound. Got 2 proposals back. One was from DSS, and they're wanting $4,000 a show. The other one was from SECT, and their proposal is for $2,000 a show. This would provide lights and sound so that each artist doesn't have to bring their own. What we noticed last year was, some artists did pretty good with their sound, some didn't, some had lights, some didn't. We're considering the schedule this year. We're going to shift the concerts back. We'll have opening acts that the concerts will go later. We'll have opening acts that'll start at 6:30, maybe go to 7:30. The main act won't start till 8, and it'll go to 10. Last year we were done by 9:30, so the daylight is a problem. So we'll need lights for that for the main act. So that's the reason we started thinking about let's go ahead and hire the lights and sound ourselves, so the artists don't have to worry about that. Maybe their price can be lower, and as we go negotiate those contracts. So we're recommending that the council authorize us to accept the proposal from SECT, S-E-C-T, Theater and Supply, at a cost of $2,000 per event. I think on the condition that the 50% due upon acceptance, that we verify that if we submit that we'll be able to recoup that if we have to cancel or reschedule the concert series.
That was going to be my comment, that if for whatever reason we were not able to go forward, we needed a means to recoup the deposit
And make sure the companies are companies that are going to stay around too. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm afraid of
we're going to lose
some businesses are going to be lost, and I don't want to pay to somebody that we're not going to be able to get back if it's a. I mean, I guess I'm just my thought was, is it really necessary to do this now? Can we put it off?
Or can we, to that end, can we say that we're anticipating going with them, but we're uncomfortable with the deposit because of conditions?
the uncertainty of the current
I mean,
conditions.
being on there,
Definitely do that.
being on,
Yeah.
At least we can tell them that we're intending to go forward, but we can't commit to a deposit.
I think that's
these
fine.
guys, we used them throughout all those other concerts, and they're good folks. They've been around for a long time. They do a lot of concerts. I'm pretty sure they'll be willing to work.
I like the idea of we don't want to give the deposit. I mean, half is a lot. We're talking about 15. Talking about a lot of money. So
Yeah.
And one of your entertainers requires.
Yeah. So one of the entertainers that we've got lined out specifically said, you've got to provide lights and sound for us. So yeah, with $8,000.
That was two.
I don't want to.
I just don't.
Two of the acts. Well, I had to have lights and sound.
Oh,
That's correct.
Fried chickens.
First
did
and
too?
third, right?
Yeah, the first I think two didn't, but two did. So
Okay.
Correct.
So I mean, I agree. It would provide a more uniform. And I was optimistic. I had secured a new sponsor. So I thought I would probably be able to get enough to cover, all of this cost through sponsors. But I don't know what that means. I don't think those those were not guaranteed. So I think conditions may have changed for those that might have been thinking about sponsoring. So.
It's just a hard time for things, and when we're just like Rotary, it's like we got to put things on hold because it's just not a good time to go out and ask businesses of any sort for money right now.
Right.
So hopefully this is going to be able to go forth, but I really don't want to put money down on something that may or may not happen when it's just an entertainment. It's
We may
it's my feeling about it.
rethink what we're going to do entirely as
May or
well.
may not
Yeah.
happen.
And the worst part is when we were putting these packets together on Friday, it really kind of wasn't the case. I mean,
Right, and I understand
Yeah.
it made a
We-
drastic change real quickly, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I support Lori's opinion.
So I would just say we hold off
Okay.
on it. I mean, just let them know that if it goes, we can do it. We will go with them, but we just can't commit.
okay.
Would be my opinion on it.
Mike, if Sean doesn't return the call, let me know. I'll call him personally.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all we need on that, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Item E, consider donation request from the Caw Valley Sportsmen's Association.
Yes, Council, this is a familiar item each year. It almost seems normal to be considering a request for the fishing derby. Caw Valley Sportsmen, looks like the derby is the same event as they've had for decades now. On the staff report, we actually have $10,000 budgeted in the 2020 budget for donations, charitable gifts and donations. We do have a policy for who we donate to and how we
Mhm.
do that, how we dole out those funds. I put that in the staff report. The spreadsheet on the second page of the staff report shows we do have again this year specific set asides. United Community Services, Johnson County Human Services, and the Council of Mayors. So we have 4180 set aside already. This donation, if you approve it tonight, it's another 1,000. So the funds available after tonight will be 4820. And then I've shown past years' donations that we've considered and approved. They're down below. So donations are completely at the discretion of the council. And if you wish to grant this, we just need a motion to grant the donation.
So this is a bit of a side path, but I'm thinking almost this is going to be at Lexington Lake Park, I think again probably. That maybe this could be a event in conjunction with Caw Valley, but it could be something we sponsor through our Parks and Rec department. I mean, I don't know if we're the prime sponsor. Maybe it's a city event, and we have the Caw Valley folks come out and help, but. Just semantics,
Yeah.
you know. Then it's more of a, I mean,
Yeah.
because it seems like we're probably the sole underwriter for this event, so I think, not that we need to change paths this year, but I think maybe looking toward the next year, maybe it could even be a combined thing with Johnson County Parks, or and the city of DeSoto Parks, and a local organization that wanted to help put it on.
Yeah, which may or may not be Caw Valley, so they may want to be that person, but if not,
Yeah, I'm just.
We can have
Yeah,
that
they-
discussion with them.
They might want the help.
I mean, they've been doing it for
40, 50 years? Something.
long time.
Yeah, and I think since I was little,
The sheriff's department does some fishing stuff too. They've
Yeah.
done some down in Edgerton before.
Cops and boppers.
Yeah, I like the idea of co-programming it with the parks. I think that's a great, so like you say, since the city's putting so much money into it, I like your idea. I think it's great.
What?
Well, with this particular thing, I think just because of the fact that we only pay them after they give us receipts,
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem approving the money, but it's the same thing. I mean, we don't know whether this event will happen or not happen. So, I mean, but it's not like we're giving them the money up front. I think we pay them afterwards. So,
Reimbursement.
yeah. So, with that being said, I don't really have a problem with continuing
And
it.
that was my question: was, are we sponsoring the event or donating to the event or them? If it's the event, it's canceled. But if it's purely reimbursing based upon receipts, then if the event doesn't happen, we don't have receipts, we don't reimburse, so we still have the money to donate elsewhere. So
I'll make a motion. We approve the $1,000 donation to Caw Valley Sportsman.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
yes,
Monaco,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
thank you, council, motion carried.
Okay. Item F. The reason we're having this strange meeting, Mike.
Yeah, lots of things are strange these days, like the whole world. And as I suspected when I was writing the staff report, it's all just completely out of date. I mean, so much has happened since this. So more or less it was a placeholder to kind of be able to give you an update of current state of affairs. I'm not going to update you on the nation or the state or the school or the county. You've kept up with that as well as I have. I just kind of wanted to give you, some information about what we're doing internally. I did share with the council the policy, the temporary policies that I issued last Thursday related to in the event that we have a minimum staffing need and need to go to minimum staffing. I've laid out procedures for that. Pay during that minimum staffing period is much like we would pay for a snow day. Employees that are told to stay home and have a regular shift will get paid for that shift. don't have to take their vacation or leave time. Employees that come in during that period will get paid time and a half. And there's also provisions for work from home. On the work from home, uh, we've set up. Some of our duties can be done that way. Others can't. Those that can, we've set up to be able to do that. I've encouraged yesterday or today that, especially those in high risk groups like Lana and Steve, Nancy, maybe Doug, to consider seriously working from home. Even though we're not minimum staffing, to consider doing that. And I think technology is going to work okay. To enable us to do that. Some people's home internet's better than others, so we'll work through that as we need to. The As far as closing City Hall to the public, it looks like about half the cities maybe in the region have done that at this point. I'm guessing that we'll be there, if not tomorrow, then certainly by Monday is my guess. That I will make the declaration that this response period is triggered and that we should go to close City Hall and go to minimum staffing. So that's my feeling right now about it. Just how things have been escalating throughout the week. So that's a likelihood. Currently, we have one employee who just came back from California, which is a hotspot state. So we've told him to stay away from work for 14 days, self-isolate. I don't know if we can tell him to go home, but he's not coming into work. That we know. We have three employees that are working from home, starting today, and will work from home. And it might be the sort of thing where they work from home 4 days a week and need to come in and get some stuff done. But what that does is, while those spaces are empty, it kind of allows us, especially up front, to distance a little bit. And we've provided some additional guidance, an additional policy that I sent out just yesterday about workplace impacts, quarantine, and isolation. So just a little more guidance on this policy from yesterday. Really kind of keeping in tune with what the county's doing, and Rick's been on several of those calls about closing community centers and just how this is all evolving. Right now, I think the other cities are struggling a little bit with how to handle leave time and sick leave and pay while they're out. It's a step that I took early on to say, that essentially what I wanted to do is secure incomes so that people who shouldn't be coming into work don't come into work. I don't want our employees to have to worry about their paycheck if they really need to be quarantined. So the policy that I released last week is not something that not most other cities have done at this point. I think right now, just today, there was a federal mandate for a 14-day paid leave requirement that is in line with kind of what I did last week. Anything else, Lana, Patrick, about the current state? Of course, we're daily updating with the Johns County Emergency folks, and the communication seems to be pretty good at this point.
Steve, I think, is keeping up with the county, and of course, I'm on the same wavelength with Steve, received the same emails, plus I'm on a couple of other county updates. I don't know if Steve is, but I've been forwarding those on to Mike and some to Patrick that might have some legal things that Patrick might need to know, but Mike gets a copy of what I receive every day, so I think we're on top of things as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, so just as follow up to the policy, we're asking anybody who's working from home to keep track of what you're doing, keep track of the hours you're spending, report to your supervisor if you're going to do that. Just keep the lines of communication open. No doubt that there are situations will arise we haven't thought of. We'll just have to make a determination using our best judgment. we have restricted, not that it affects anybody, but work-related travel, we're not doing that anymore. So, for the foreseeable future. That was the extent of what I had. Anybody has any questions?
Got a question. What's the city's role in reporting activity within residents of the city? Like if somebody's known to have been tested, what's the city's role in communicating with the county or up to KDHE?
Yeah,
Is there
so
any?
that's handled under the emergency operations plan. So the emergency liaisons, Steve, Lana, myself, if we have that information, we're reporting it on a daily basis. That's not the type of information that we would directly get, though. That's from the healthcare providers, from the EMT, from the health network. At this point, if we heard about something, we would likely tell the appropriate individuals with the county that there might be something there, but they would be the ones responding to that and verifying or confirming.
Have you thought about key roles such as yourself if you contract the virus and are incapacitated for a period of time where it's not just home isolation, but if something were to happen to your key managers, be it at the water plant or wastewater plant or yourself, or contingency plans for who's kind of the in charge in certain situations.
Yeah. And again, some of that's covered in the emergency operations, but not all. And so it's a good topic because there's a line of command that's pretty easy. If it's a department head, then it goes to the foreman, whatever. That's pretty easy. But I think there probably would be value to laying that out more specifically for this.
And kind of testing and trialing communication paths, be it your remote communication tools and that kind of thing, whether you're using Google Hangout or GoToMeeting or whatever it may be. But I would trial those kinds of things, as well as, are you having to deal with remote access into computer systems in here, be it accounting system or server equipment, and has everybody know that they've got?
We do, and we've been testing that out.
Good.
Working with our IT consultant, we've settled on Google. What's it called? Desktop. Works really well. It's almost like a log me in, if you're familiar with that.
Okay.
It's through your Google login, but it's as though you're sitting there at your work desktop. It pulls that out, and everybody has tested that out. One or two, home internet isn't the best, so might be a little bit of a struggle, but for the most part, that works really well. We have the Microsoft 365 suite, so emails and communications, electronic communications are pretty solid. Everybody gets that on their phone, text messaging, stuff like that. We've updated the cell phone lists and distributed that out as if it's just a phone call, it needs to be made. So we have, and the GoToMeeting thing, we've tested out. It seemed like it worked pretty well tonight.
I think
so. Next Tuesday, I have a planning commission meeting with public hearing item. So we're gonna advertise that as a means for anybody in the public that wants to participate to dial into that, just like our applicant did tonight, and be able to actually provide comment. So looks like that's going to pass muster with open records and public hearing laws. So we have been, we've been kind of beta testing a lot of that stuff this week and last week too.
In the event that you're open beyond Monday, I assume you've got practices in place for sanitation, disinfection of surfaces and fixtures, and
that was kind of I think I put that
step one.
Yeah, workspace impact.
I personally disinfected, wiped down everything on
the. Everybody's got wipes at their desk, and encourage you to do that on their own. We don't share phones, don't share pens. Yeah, we've done what
all the
can. It's 24/7 on
change.
That's it's the only thing going on, right?
Yeah.
So you can't help but kind of stay up on what the latest impact on. No basketball tournament, so what else is that's a good thought about the kind of the chain of command sort of thing. We also, in talking with Kevin, working with Evergy, we're worried about, how many people do we have trained that can run the water plant and the sewer plant, and what does that look like? So this week I've asked the water department. We have a water person who reads our water meters. Used to run the plant 5-10 years ago, but hadn't in 5-10 years. Well, we've done all those upgrades, so he's getting out there and getting trained, in the event that we need. So things like that. Yeah, we're working through those.
Good.
As we can. Yep. And I try to keep you guys as updated as we can. If you have any questions or hear any rumors or have concerns, give me a call. Shoot me an email. I think we're just going to have to, use our best judgment. I got to tell it, department heads, you're going to have to be making calls that you probably otherwise don't have the authority, might not have the authority to do. And if I didn't trust you with some of that stuff, you wouldn't be in the position you're in. So I think everybody's just doing the best we can.
Okay. Anything else? So if we close City Hall, what impact does, what public access cut off from City Hall, what does that mean to, is that
so the main
businesses, utility payments, or?
Yeah, that would be the main thing. Immediate is getting people paying water bills. We got a drop box outside for that. We do have an online payment system. So I think we can manage that. The other thing would be on a longer term basis. Well, we have this asbestos project coming up.
Yeah.
Starts next week. I don't see any reason the contractor can't be upstairs working. Right? Yeah, that's not a public sort of thing, and they're going to be contained anyway because of the asbestos. But it does kind of start bringing up the questions about what about builders who still want to build their house and need inspections and need to come in and talk to somebody. We're working through, and Steve and Cameron have implemented a system where they request, by an email or a text message or a phone call, inspections and things like that. Applicants, that need to come in and talk about planning things. We're trying to see what we can do now to accommodate some of those, just with the online sort of thing. If that goes on for months and months, we're going to have to start, thinking about other more elaborate, issues. I think that are the problem. More than just the immediate this next week or two or this next month. The other thing is that we should be gearing up for budget. I should be presenting you guys an initial draft budget in the second meeting in April. That's not going to happen. We need to do some analysis on what we think this is going to be doing to sales tax.
Exactly, it's a whole different picture.
There's all sorts of stuff, and these policies, the work from home policy, it won't come without a cost. There's going to be overtime involved in some of that. That'll affect our personnel costs too. So, it's good that we have carried over from last year a balance of more than, it's almost $2 million in the general fund. Our budget's kind of set to whittle that down. That's a good problem to have because these revenue streams that we projected, we're not going to make that sales tax projection this year. I can't imagine it. So those are other things as we talk about the budget. Hopefully by June we'll be able to get back in here and start working on spreadsheets and normal stuff again. But for right now, I'm reading emails and trying to talk about wiping down counters and stuff. So, interesting times.
I guess I don't want to think about it too much tonight, but I don't know what we can do, but business relief or any stimulus that we can provide at a local level to help the businesses that are impacted by this. And I'm sure that we don't even understand the beginning of the scope of the impacts yet. Right? It's but I think maybe in our, and as we think about budgeting, maybe that's something that we'll be thinking about as well, is because we may be, I'll just throw it out, we may be writing off some water bills or some features of these businesses that are end up struggling as this thing goes on.
Yeah, that was the other thing I didn't mention in this. We did put out a notice, I think the day before Kansas required it, that there's no shutoffs, there's no late fees. They're suspended.
Okay. That it on that, Mike?
I think so. I mean, it won't be the last, but
that's
tonight.
It for tonight.
Yeah.
On tonight's discussion on that. Okay. Any other questions for Mike before I move on? All right. Executive session, we won't have any. So we'll go to advisory reports. Mike, do you have anything to add then tonight?
No, sir, I don't. Nope.
Patrick? All right. Brad's not here. Lana?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
All right. Council comments. I'm gonna start with you, Danny. Anything for the council tonight?
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kevin Hanemichael.
I have nothing.
All right. Lori?
No, I don't have anything tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Kevin?
I do not.
I'm sorry, Rob?
Nothing.
I'm skipping like every third.
It's a different layout.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You're supposed. I have one thing, and I'm just going to share it with you. We may not be there. Put one over to Lana, would you? And this is an ordinance that would, it would allow us to continue to spend money. If we can't continue to meet, it would allow us to spend up to authorize the amounts we've authorized in the budget, in the accounts we've authorized in the budget. So this is a ordinance that was put forward. Actually, I think some cities might even do it, but it was put forward by LKM, or put on the website by LKM earlier this week, in case it would give Mike, we wouldn't have to go through the pay ordinance at every meeting before we could issue the checks to pay the trash service or whatever it might be, and would allow those functions to continue. So I've given it to Patrick. So I really don't want any action on it tonight, but I just want to be thinking about before our next meeting that we'll see where we go. But this is something we may need to be thinking about. And I think with that, that's all I have.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry, just a question. Should we tentatively plan on just doing the next meeting the same as tonight, just for notice and things like that?
Yes, I would imagine that our next meeting will be a similar format, if not having, perhaps more of us won't be able to be here. More of us might be remote.
Yeah. And I think, if it's more than one person on the council that wants to call in, then we'll have you just do the go-to meeting, because we can only get one person on the line here where Danny is. So it'll probably be the go-to meeting. Seems to work pretty well.
Thank you, Patrick, for bringing that up. All right, now
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. So how do we get Danny's signature on the pay ordinance?
We won't. But you could just put down there, he approved it, so it's in the minutes. It's all good. I will attest to it that he approved it.
If indeed that was Danny on the line.
Yeah. And also, when
How do you
see
approve
the
that?
minutes, when I send them out to you tomorrow, I have put a note in there that due to the COVID-19 restrictions,